Hi guys, welcome to episode one, debut of Tokyo Attraction, where it's a new podcast, new initiative, new faces. And what we're trying to do is really tell this story with two sides. You've got your founder's side, which is why we're lucky to be joined by Lee today. And the other side that we want to tell, the other side of the story is talking to kind of more the funding side. So traction isn't all about just getting traction with obviously your customers, but also connecting with investors as well, especially for those who want to raise funds. And of course, there's a bit of a push these days towards bootstrapping. And I think we want to talk to a few more of those founders as well in this series. But we do very much want to tell the story from two sides and get two different angles as well, just so we can paint a bit more light, I guess, from an investor's perspective, and hopefully get founders thinking more from their point of view when they're trying to apply for fundraising as well. So, Lee, yeah, thanks for joining. Do you want to do a bit of a quick intro, and then I'll do my own intro, and then we can get started.
Sure. So my name is Lee. I'm originally from the US. I was born in Boston and got a background in management and business degree. But my career took me to various places. I moved to Miami right after university, moved to Australia shortly after that. And yeah, and after Australia, I spent some time in Vietnam, actually, about 7 years in Vietnam teaching English before
Right.
I came here to Japan. I've been here for the past year and helping founders with their English and their soft skills so that they can raise investment and expand globally. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. And my name is Matt. For people who are not aware, basically I lived in Japan for about 8.5 years from 2014. Prior to that, I used to work in product in finance. And I guess since Japan, my mind opened up to startups and was working with founders from very early stage, worked with a few VCs as well, a lot more on the communication side. And kind of as I grew to kind of love the startup environment, got a lot of exposure across not only the product, I want to say like a life cycle, working with founders on customer discovery and development and prototyping, but and now I'm kind of more on the tech side. So working with devs and helping startups connect to developers as well. But enough about me. Let's talk about you, Lee. So yeah, you've had a bit of an interesting drive. Let's talk about what's your general observations of like the Tokyo startup ecosystem these days? Like, what do you see?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a big push to get more people involved in startups, which is exciting and it's positive. When I came last year, I think it was the first time Sushi Tech was
Yep.
running. So I was there for the beginning of Sushi Tech, and yeah, just a year later, it's just you see so many events every week here in Tokyo. There's always things going on.
Yep.
I myself host a lot of events and go to a lot of events. So it's really great, seeing the initiatives like, for example, with Tokyo Innovation Base and how they're providing a free space for founders to meet, mingle, and build from. There's various accelerator programs popping up all over the place. There's been a big push towards English accelerators. So at
Hmm.
Antler, when I did Antler here in Japan, it was the first time they actually did it in English. So that's a really encouraging sign. There's other accelerators like Founder Institute. There's others like Techstar Startup Weekend. I did a hackathon with them last summer. So yeah, really exciting stuff, and it's been a big push towards creating startups, which is great.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit more about your background, maybe. So you spent some time in obviously in the US, in Australia, in Vietnam. Do you want to kind of
Mhm.
talk us a bit more through that history and what
Absolutely.
led you back to Japan? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I grew up in Boston and I had a background in management. So, I went to school and, when I was in high school, I was like, should I be follow my dream and be an astronomer, or should I go and, like do a business degree? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, maybe it'll be easier to get a business degree, right? So that's why I chose business. And, I always wanted to be in like a leadership position, management position. So that's why I chose management. And right after university, I actually moved to Miami because I hated the cold weather, honestly. It's crazy because now I'm back in a cold weather environment. But I moved to Miami, hopped in a car, didn't know anybody, and just drove down to Florida, where I started a management trainee program. I learned a lot of sales. I learned how to run a business within like a rent-a-car company. And then, I had various other jobs before getting my first recruitment job. And that was kind of like my segue into the tech industry. And
Mm,
yeah, I didn't know anything about tech. And I was like, in the interview, I was like, oh, I'd love to do this position, but I have no idea about technology. And they're like, oh,
yep.
don't worry about it. By talking to people over the phone, you'll get it very quickly. And it was true. After 3 months, I started to, talk the talk, and be able to understand the software development life cycle, some of the,
Mm.
the technologies people were building with at the time. It was very interesting. I did that for about a year and a half before I got really tired of the corporate grind in America. It was very cutthroat, recruitment's all about numbers.
Mm.
So I was looking around and I was like, how can I escape this? So I found the working holiday visa in Australia
I
and I
see.
actually got accepted. I told my company that I was going up to Boston for vacation and just never I never came back.
Int-
So I flew all the way to Melbourne, Australia, where I was very quickly got into another recruitment position. It was
Wow.
strange
Okay.
because I heard the guy who hired me told me, hey, Australians, they don't really like to sell. So, we need a lot of British or, American people here to sell. So, that was a really easy fit for me. And that was my first time ever working for like a startup kind of environment. It was just
Okay.
me and then a husband and wife recruitment combo. And
Oh.
it was really, really cool to be in that type of environment. It's really small. So I worked there for a couple months. Then I got another job at another boutique recruitment firm, another small team, and they wanted to sponsor me to be, a permanent resident and change my visa over.
Yep.
But then I was like, you know what? I want to live somewhere where I don't speak the language, I don't know anything about the culture, and just have more of an adventure. So Vietnam came up in my mind as a way to go and, teach English abroad and understand, what it's like to live in a place like that. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, after landing in Vietnam, I didn't have any teaching experience, got teaching experience, got set to work my way up to head teacher. Um, I was only supposed to be there for 2 years, but then I met my Japanese wife on Tinder while living
Ah.
in Vietnam. I stayed there an extra 5 years. We got married, and that's where I first started my entrepreneurial journey in the Antler accelerator program. So I had a really good job. I was like getting paid really well, but then I
Hmm.
saw this opportunity, and I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but never had the chance to do so. So when I saw this, I was like, "Oh, it's a sign from the universe. I have to like, I have to quit and just go all in on it." So tried and failed several business ideas. I actually did two cohorts during my time in
Mm.
Vietnam, and when you don't have work, you don't have a work visa, you have to do visa runs, and that was getting really expensive. So I was like, let's just move to Japan. So we moved here, and now the rest is history. I founded my company, Omni English, doing lots of
Yep.
events here, and yeah, been trying to help the community as much as I can.
Awesome. So now that you've come to Tokyo and you've already experienced Vietnam, what are the kind of key differences you see? I guess Southeast Asia versus what is it, more Central Asia or I don't know.
East
Yep,
Asia, yeah.
Japan even. Yeah, Eastern Asia.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so in Southeast Asia, it's a lot of booming economies, especially Vietnam. Vietnam is when I got there in 2017, it was already starting to develop, but when I left in 2023, yeah, 2023,
Mm,
2024, sorry, last year, everything was just like very different. Like
mm,
things were getting more expensive. There's new like high-rise buildings all over the place. Tons of money from the US and other markets flooding into the startup ecosystem there. Because if you think about it, in developed countries like the US, Japan, China, those type things, there's not that many problems to solve. But in Vietnam,
mm.
where it's a developing country, there's so many different opportunities and problems to solve.
Right.
So it's a very exciting place to build in that aspect, along with other markets like Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, those type places. So yeah, it was very, very new market in terms of startup ecosystem. Whereas here, it's kind of like they're trying to I don't know how to say it, like they needed to be reborn here. Like
Yeah.
something needs to spark, and I think that the Japanese government is really pushing for that to get 100 new unicorns in 5 years or whatever the goal is, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like going through a transition phase here in Japan, whereas in Vietnam they're really trying to grow it from the beginning. Hmm.
I guess Japan, maybe from a structural or a social standpoint, has a lot of problems to solve as well, potentially,
Hmm.
I think.
Huh.
So even as what would we say, like a quite a developed society, there's still a lot of opportunity, I think, for innovation or problems that need solving and need investment and need attention as well. So, but yeah, like
100%.
what you say about Vietnam makes complete sense. So
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are
interesting.
broken there, and they need solutions.
Right.
But
Okay.
no, you bring up a great point with regards to, innovation here. That's one of the things that, I think a lot of people are struggling with here in Japan is like
Mm,
it's hard to innovate in a place that is risk averse. Japanese society really doesn't like risk, and entrepreneurship by its nature is a very risky venture. So, yeah, hopefully that mindset will change and it will encourage more people to get into entrepreneurship, and the government hopefully will allow more people from other countries to come in and innovate here because they need a fresh perspective. If you're just
mm.
stuck in your little bubble, which is Japan, and you're surrounded by people who only speak the same language and only, have that same mindset, you're really just going to plateau or just not go very far. You need diverse opinions. You need diverse perspectives in order to really see an innovative way forward. And
Yep.
hopefully Japan, I think with the startup visas, they're trying to do something like that, but I've heard lots of stories of that not being as successful as originally planned, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess at least they're trying. Like the
Mm,
startup visa was originally 1 year, now it's two.
mm,
So they're very much trying to attract more foreign, talent or entrepreneurs,
yeah,
even aspiring entrepreneurs, which is good.
yeah. The key though is
So
the English part, I think, and that's
yeah,
what I'm working on.
yeah,
That's what I'm
okay,
working on.
okay.
I'm trying to
Well,
help people with their
that's
skills
probably
so
more
that,
from the domestic focus,
mhm.
like facing outwards, right? Trying to enter
Yeah,
the US market or the Australian market or the,
that's right.
is that right? Mm,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot of people I think here struggle with the English language, and um, also like just knowing what to do within terms of networking with foreign founders and stuff. So that's really one of
hmm
the pushes that I've been trying to do with my business is helping make that bridge between because at the end of the day, you can speak Japanese and hire a translator, but is your message actually getting across? Probably not, right? So I want to empower Japanese to be able to speak in English in a way that still they can show their message confidently to like
mm.
investors and talent and things like that. So that's where my focus is.
Cool. And we'll talk a bit more about that shortly. I guess so. You mentioned Antler, and I'm keen to hear about your experience. Maybe one, just going through the program, but two, like finding a co-founder or finding co-founders. I think you had two for the Japan
Yes.
cohort. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep. Mhm. Yep.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
take us through that journey.
Yeah, so my antler journey again started in Vietnam where I was just playing basketball, and I had like
Okay.
already started thinking about these startup ideas, right? And there was this guy, we came a little early, and I was just talking about my idea to one of these guys, this guy there. And he's like, "Hey, have you heard of the Antler Accelerator program?" I'm like, "No, what is that?" He's like, "Well, it's like YC, but not the same, right? It's kind of similar. It's like a startup accelerator." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And got super interested. And I figured, you know what, I'll apply, and if I get in, I'll quit my job and that'll be it, right? But I got in and I was like, oh, wow, this is actually happening. So I didn't know what to expect at all. I had no idea about Antler. I just saw some YouTube videos, but didn't really understand the process or anything, right?
Right.
So I got accepted and I started, and it was so incredible. The energy in Vietnam was insane. We had 80 people in my first cohort.
Wow.
Uh,
Huge.
yeah, and it was just I was in a room full of people who worked at like really big name companies, like had these great degrees and like really ambitious people who had startups, who had exited startups, foreign founders and also Vietnamese founders. Like it was really incredible. The energy and the vibe was great. At the beginning of the cohort, they do like a lot
Mm.
of co-founder matching and networking. Like we do team activities, we do speed dating, we do lots of things to try and build synergy that first week or two.
Yep.
And it was a lot of fun. Um, but I went through a lot of teams during that time. So I was on like 3 or 4 teams in my first cohort before I finally ended up on my own. And with Antler, if you don't have a co-founder by a certain point, so week 6, usually, I think it is, you have to leave the program. Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on
Right.
how validated your idea was. So I ended up leaving because I didn't have a co-founder at the time. And I was like, I'm gonna prove them wrong. I'm gonna build and they did the wrong thing, right? So I just posted a job on LinkedIn and it was for a CTO position, unpaid. I was very clear about that and it was like, you get equity and all this type of stuff, but I need help building my startup. And I interviewed a couple of people and I finally found a co-founder on there. And after a few times of meeting each other in person and online, like we started working together. And we started working for the whole summer. And it was the first time I actually got an idea in my head and made it a reality into an app.
Mm.
And it was such a like great feeling to have. But that was the first time, like after us meeting in together, like that was the first time, I mean, probably the only time we met in person until the next cohort started. So I applied for the second cohort with my new co-founder thinking, yeah, we're going to get the investment this time, right? Uh, but the first couple of weeks, we worked together in person after getting our idea like shot down a couple of times. Like what I found is that my co-founder at the time didn't really have that, I guess, ambitious enough mindset or creative mindset,
Ah,
like problem-solving mindset. And I would say ideas, and he wouldn't want to do with them. It wasn't passionate. Like we weren't really
right.
clicking there. Yeah. So I found another co-founder in the program just through my networking, and we were working on an idea which was like a financial literacy game for kids. It was really cool, really really cool idea. We got
Nice.
good feedback the entire time from Antler. Good feedback, good feedback, good feedback. Answered all their questions, and then the investment committee comes, and obviously in the investment committee there are different investors there, not the ones we meet each week, and they couldn't figure out whether we were an ed tech platform or a game. So that's why we didn't
Ah,
get investment. Um, but yeah, that was a little bit of kind of like how I started off in Antler. In terms of my Japan cohort, my CTO I actually met at a networking event before
okay.
Antlers, before it started. And originally, I had my own idea, but he had an idea that I thought was actually better. So I was like, "Well, I just got into Antler, so I can bring you in with me." So with Antler, if you have an outside co-founder, usually
Right.
they can be brought in. Yeah, they can be brought in usually. So I brought him in, and then we went through the first week with that idea that we had and tried to validate it a bit, but we found very quickly there wasn't really a need there for that, and the demand wasn't there. So we were thinking of other ideas, and we landed on an idea for a product for product managers, where it was like a document workspace, and it would help them be more
Hmm.
efficient with communication. And we found a third co-founder there in the program who was a product manager working for
Okay.
PayPal. So we were like, oh, this is the perfect
Nice.
fit. Again, like we're getting,
All
like,
aligned.
yeah,
Yep.
we're all aligned. The stars are
Yep.
aligning. This is a perfect founder fit team.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, Antler didn't invest in us because we didn't validate the solution enough. We didn't have enough
Uh,
MOUs. We didn't have enough sales at the beginning.
mhm.
And it's a tough program, man. We can get more into that a little bit, but 10 weeks is not enough time in my mind to build a successful startup and to
Yep.
meet people for the first time and build a successful startup. Yeah,
Yep.
it was a good experience
But I
though.
mean, I like the approach of advertising on LinkedIn because I don't think like people always think, ah, how am I going to meet a co-founder? Maybe I'll advertise in a Facebook group or I'll check YC, startup school, and
Yeah.
they're the only two avenues. So,
So,
going to meetup events or like finding on LinkedIn, posting a job, yeah, that's great. And you can post a free job on LinkedIn as well. You don't have to pay for that.
yep.
So,
One free
yeah,
job. You get one free job on
that's
LinkedIn.
right.
And then, yeah, I just put it as my, you can also make a business page for your startup, and you'll need to do that in order to post a free job. But it's
Right.
good. You can do that. And that if you have a presence online, that's even better. So,
Yeah.
yes, it's a great thing.
Yeah, so that's lots of good points to raise.
Hmm.
Let's move into a bit more about what you're doing. So, um, is it like it's communication skills and networking? I've seen you obviously do last time. I was
Hmm.
back for Sushi Tech. What, where do you spend most of your kind of training or helping founders? Is it the networking side, the pitching side, a bit of both?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. I'm more focused on communication in general,
Hmm.
whether that be public speaking or speaking interpersonally. I think it's very important, and especially in this day and age where everything is AI based. You never know what's real, what's not real, and I think that the value of human to human communication is going to get even
Mm.
more valuable as time goes on. So I'm really just trying to focus on making that bridge between like the Japanese like networking style or the communication style versus the foreign networking style and trying to make a bridge there. I've done in the past a lot of pitch coaching. So last
Hmm.
year when I came to Japan, I figured to get my name out there and to build my brand, my personal brand, I would host free workshops. So I hosted two free workshops on presentation skills. And that was really cool to meet people who really care about public speaking and but also help them be more confident on stage when if they're pitching or doing a sales pitch or something like that. It was
Hmm.
really cool to do that. And I did one on negotiation as well at Google for Startups. So um, yeah, I just really care about soft skills because I think that through my background in recruitment and sales, especially, like it really taught me how to communicate with people. Especially also when I moved down from Boston to Miami, I didn't know anybody. So I
Right.
had to go out and learn these skills through getting a lot of rejection, getting a lot of
Yep.
like, awkward conversations. I think that's super important to share that knowledge that you have so those people don't have to go through that. And that's kind of like my mission here in Japan. Yeah.
So would you say that experiences has kind of helped you deal a bit better with rejection these days, or?
Yeah, absolutely. In
Yep.
recruitment, I remember this very clearly. We had dial
Yeah.
sheets. You know, dial
Uh-huh.
sheets, like
Yeah, yeah.
we had to do 100 dials every single day.
Right, right.
Yeah, I think, maybe 10 people will talk to you out of 100.
Yes.
You just get numb to the nose. But through my work with learning about negotiation and understanding negotiation, once you get a no, that's actually the start of the conversation. If you have
Mm.
an inquisitive mind and you don't have an ego, you can just like kind of take the no as signaling a way of understanding that you need to ask more questions from them, then that's great.
Yep.
So it was definitely crucial in my ability to communicate. I think everyone should learn sales in high school, honestly.
Right. Yeah, yeah. The earlier the better, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I guess in Japan, failure or even rejection, there's a lot of a stigma attached to that. Um, how did you learn to kind of reframe that when you got to Japan, and like how do you think about that now, especially when you speak to, I guess you've got the background of like being through the Antler program, but also front facing and working with founders here. Oh, sorry, in Japan, like
Hmm.
what how do you approach that, or how do you structure it? What's your kind of yeah, what do you do there in that situation?
Yeah, well, in terms of, just making founders feel safe, and making them know that you're not going to learn anything unless you fail. I mean,
Right.
everyone goes through this in life, they just don't realize it. So when you're a baby, right, you obviously fall down and
Yeah.
like you have to get back up. And your mother's not pointing at you and saying, "Haha, you're bad," like you're a failure at life. Just similarly, if you make a mistake in school, like in high school or something, nobody, teachers shouldn't be, saying, "Oh, you're dumb," or "You're this," or "You're that." But I feel like a lot of times in society, many people do that, even the parents sometimes, and that's not okay. So I
Mm,
want them to know that when they get into a classroom with me or a coaching session with me, that they can feel safe to make mistakes because that's how you learn. And that's why I came up with the CAPE method. So the
hmm
CAPE method is there to help people. It's a way I go about lesson planning. It's a way I go about structuring my lessons so that people feel safe. So the C stands for confidence. I want people to feel confident that they're going to be heard and that they can make the mistakes without being ridiculed, without being, chastised in public and stuff
mm.
like that. The A is for application. So they need to be able to immediately apply what they learned in the lesson right away and get instant feedback. Personalization is the P. I try to make every single one of my lessons personalized for that individual student so
Yep.
that it's tailored to them. A lot of these English centers have really cookie cutter programs that they do for their customers, and that's not my approach. I don't use any
Yep.
books or anything like that. I use AI to personalize it based on my students. So I might take stuff from their LinkedIn profile or from our interview that we have and really tailor it towards their needs specifically. And then that all leads to the E, which is empowerment. At the end of the day, my mission is to empower all of my students to feel confident after they leave me and approach any communicative task with ease. So, yeah.
Yeah, cool. But I guess you're probably seeing some of the regular, I don't know, maybe it's the shortfalls or things people perhaps don't get right initially. What do you see as some common things that people could be working on to really boost their pitching skills? And
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess it's also and if we go a bit further, maybe it's that fear of failure or like saving, in Japanese culture, it's saving face.
Yes.
So how to kind of start to manage that or deal with that a little bit better. Um,
How much time do you have? Honestly, like there's so much stuff, man,
yeah, yeah.
I think that one of the main key differences I noticed for Japanese pitches versus, American pitches is the amount of detail in the slides that
Mm.
they have. It's absolutely ridiculous. Even when in English, you know what I mean? They'll just put everything in the slides in all text. Whereas when you are pitching an audience, especially like let's say it's a pitch competition, not necessarily an investors, you can't do that. You need to
Yeah.
remember that humans are visual creatures. We are visual creatures first, everything else after. So making associations with the data that you're showing is extremely important. So one of the things that I see is like number one, they'll just put everything text in the slides, but then
Yeah.
they'll read from the slides too. Reading from the slides or reading from a piece of paper, the number one thing that they're not doing is making eye contact with the audience. And that's why when many Japanese get up on stage, you'll look around the audience and they're all on their phones or they're completely zoned out.
Mm.
And not only that, you have the poor eye contact, but also no vocal variety. Japanese is a very monotone language. And if the founders don't use their voice in a way for emphasis or to keep the audience engaged, then it's something that puts them to sleep.
Yeah.
Uh, During Rocket Pitch, during Sushi Tech, during Takeoff Tokyo, you'll sit there and you'll be like, what are they saying? I have no idea what they're saying because it's all monotone, no stress, no
Mm.
nothing. So, um, in terms of delivery, I think that there's a lot of work Japanese founders can do, which is exciting for me, but it's gonna be a big challenge.
Tough for
Um,
them. Mm.
yes, it's really tough for them, especially because you can say, "Oh, speak louder," or put an inflection here, or stress this word, but in their language that doesn't exist. So how can
Mm.
you actually do it? It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of trial and error, and that's something that they're not accustomed to a lot of the times. Um, and then body language is the last thing. I don't see a lot of body language. I see a lot of stiff, like holding a microphone or really
Mm.
awkward hand positions, not a lot of hand gestures,
Yep.
sometimes not upright posture. And yeah,
Yep.
it's all bad for storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Storytelling. Ah, yes. And I think even that can be hard, even just like from a structure point of view. Where do I start? Like, how do I engage? Like, how do I make it? How do I even turn a pitch into a story or make it feel like I'm t taking someone on a journey? Like that in itself can be a pretty big challenge.
One of the things
Um,
that I teach them is about hooking your audience. So if you're
mm,
not hooking your audience within the first couple of seconds, then they're going to fall asleep. And using story arcs as well. So you can
hmm
reframe your pitch into a story very simply. So there's one called the hero's journey story arc. And basically what that is, you have the ordinary world, and then you have some sort of call to adventure. That could be the problem, right? The problem that you're solving correlates with that.
mm,
And then there's the challenges. So this is the data that supports the drivers of the problem. This is the customer interviews that you've done. This is all this type of stuff that you're doing to support your problem. Then you have this victory, the solution. That's the solution to the problem that you're solving. And maybe traction that you have, maybe good customer testimonials or those type things that really show that your solution is working. And then, the return is like you can substitute that for being the team and and the vision for your team and how you are the right people to build this company. So it's just knowing about storytelling arcs and how to
yep.
position your startup story within that is very important. Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, you can almost follow the movie formula. Like you hit the challenge, you hit the anticlimax, what's
Mhm.
the resolution? Everyone's happy again. Yay.
Exactly.
But sometimes it doesn't
Exactly.
happen like that in startup world, unfortunately. So,
That's right. That's
um,
right.
when I pitched a few months ago, I started off my pitch. It was a 1 minute pitch. Everyone had a chance to pitch. It was just like a networking, find your next employee kind of event. And like kind of because we connect remote developers with startups, my opening line was, before you hire your next dev, we need to talk because blah blah blah. And I found that quite impactful because it was kind of giving them, oh wait, maybe I need to listen, before I take action, before I make a decision, before I move ahead. It's like, oh, okay, maybe there's some time I should spend on this. So found that quite effective as a kind of opener or as a hook. Um, but you know, as you practice your pitch more and more, you'll find things that work. You'll also find things that don't work as well. So
And you bring up a great point. It's also not what you say, it's how you say it that matters. So if you
mm,
say that opening line, just quickly with, monotone, it's not going to land the same way as if you pause after we need to talk,
that's right.
right? And using your voice and the pace of speech and your body language to show that you're raising an important point is really going to make it more impactful. Hmm.
Yeah. And like being comfortable with silence, I think, is it that as English speakers, we're not comfortable, like generally speaking, we're not comfortable with silence. Maybe in the Japanese world of communication, silence is okay.
Hmm.
Um, and so like we feel like we need to fill in gaps. Perhaps Japanese, it's all right. But when you turn it into public speaking, you're trying to use it for impact or to make an impression or to have that kind of lasting uh, people to kind of memorize you or be more memorable in the way that you speak. So
Absolutely.
um, hmm.
Hmm.
So, if we talk about pitching, because no doubt you pitched in Antler. Anyone that's interested in the Antler program and wants to apply in the future, because obviously it's a growing program here in Japan. What are some tips you might have for them if when they get to their? Is there an initial pitch you do and then a final pitch, or
You mean before joining Antler or what?
yeah, either before or even at the time when you're speaking to the investment committee, like after the
Okay, yeah.
end of the 10
Yeah,
weeks. Yep.
absolutely. So the one thing I'll say about before you apply to Antler, just for tips for getting in, is to
Yep.
show that you are not married to your solution or idea. Uh, it's very important to say that in the
Okay.
interview that you're
Yep.
willing and open to changing the idea if possible. People who are really hard-headed about their ideas or the fact
Mm.
that they want to be a solo founder are not going to get in the program. Just straight up, they're not going to.
Is there an
Um,
initial pitch requirement in the
no,
first initial
no,
interview? So, okay.
no. There's none for that. You just have to submit a pitch deck if you have an idea,
Okay.
which they'll look at and ask you questions about. But yeah, I think it's very important to know that your idea is going to change because what's the point of joining? They're there to help you refine your idea, and hopefully a co-founder does the same, right? So absolutely, don't be married to your idea. That's for sure. In terms of, the program in Japan, it was very different from Vietnam in terms of the pitch requirements. So every
Hmm.
single week in Vietnam, we had to pitch once.
Wow.
Every single week, every founder had to pitch, especially even they even made the technical guys, not like the CTOs and
Mm.
stuff, pitch as well, just so everyone could get that experience the first
Yep.
5 weeks.
Okay.
After the 5 weeks, they allowed just the CEOs or the people who are confident pitching to pitch, and that was fine.
Mm.
But everyone still had to
Hmm.
pitch every single week.
Mm.
In Japan, it was optional. Every single pitch was optional. And I was really bewildered by that. I didn't understand why. Because if you want people to actually successfully pitch in the investment committee, it's good to get enough practice. And like we
Yep.
had said before at the or like I tell a lot of people, is that if you're being so secretive about your idea, then you're missing out on some really great opportunities. Number one,
Right.
to attract other co-founders to join your team, right? Number two, to get feedback on your ideas, rapid fire feedback all the time, right?
Mhm.
So if you ever have an opportunity to pitch at Antler, take it and do it and refine and get the feedback and refine it right away and talk to people. Ask them, are you interested in this idea? People you're interested in. Because a lot of people were on teams that they didn't want to be on. They just didn't know whose other team to go on to next. So
Okay.
yeah, honestly, it was at times like a reality TV show. The first, especially the first, it's like, yeah, it's a little drama, but it's good. It's all good and fun. Yeah.
Did you do the after scene, cut interview where he's like, "Ah, I hate that guy, I hate
I
that
know, right? I told the guys in Vietnam, I was like, you guys should have cameras here, especially the first week, man. Like
Oh
the
no.
conversations, like
Yep.
the gossip was out of control,
Yep.
man. So
Oh wow.
absolutely,
Okay.
yeah, it was good.
It does remind me, I was there's a guy that I still coach today. He's a Japanese founder, and he went through the Founder Institute program in Japan. And he did say like I think it's almost every week they had to pitch, like they had to refine their whether it was their elevator pitch or their actual 3 or 5 minute pitch. Every week they had to pitch, and I don't think he enjoyed that so much. And then eventually he kind of discontinued because I think he just still needed to work on kind of refining the product and getting more feedback. Um, but yeah, maybe the FI program, Founder Institute, there might be some more emphasis on pitching as well. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, if
yeah.
you go to Antler, maybe not so much. If you go to Founder Institute, maybe a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
I think as a CEO of the company, especially, it's a fine line I think you need to
Mm,
do, because if you're not a confident communicator, then you should be pitching as much as possible. But if you can
mm.
communicate well and you're confident in your abilities, then okay, then that's fine. It's one thing to be confident and the other thing to be cocky, though. And if you're cocky, then that's really dangerous for founders, I think.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of those as well. Yeah.
Right. And I guess, yeah, working in the startup scene. But one other thing to kind of mention maybe is pitching isn't just all about investment. You have the opportunity to pitch to potential employees like a CTO. You have the chance to pitch to customers, partners. So, pitching isn't just always focused on the investor. And I think, sometimes people forget that because, like, obviously, ultimately, you're building a solution for a customer. But, you might be building a solution to engage a partner to sell on your behalf. Maybe, you can't find a CTO, so you need to start pitching to a dev or a senior engineer to get them on your team. So there's plenty of opportunity to practice and to refine and find that to make that skill set useful as well. So
Yeah. Just real quick point on that. There should be different like pitch decks for different situations,
of course,
right? I think, like you're saying, you want to be able to, if you're recruiting a co-founder, be able to
Mm,
clearly pitch your idea and what you're building, right? It's the same thing with customers. If you have a sales deck, it will look very different from an investor deck. And if you're pitching an investor deck to a sales, like a customer, then you're doing the wrong thing. You're going
yeah,
to
yeah.
overwhelm them with information that they don't need to know and understand. So, yes, absolutely. Like having different pitches for different audiences is very important.
Hmm. Mm.
Mhm.
Let's talk a bit more about the global community in Japan. I imagine, you've obviously done your fair share of work with a whole bunch of different founders from different walks of life, which must be great. How do you find the global community, or specifically the startup community in Tokyo, yourself? Like,
Oh, I
especially
love
you've
it.
been there for a year and a half, is it?
Yeah.
No? Or a year?
Yeah,
Yep.
year and a half. I feel that it's getting smaller and smaller
Oh, really?
as
Ah,
I've
because
gone.
you're
Yeah,
networking more and more. That's why.
I frequently go to events where I know like at least 15, 20 people in the room. It's crazy. Yeah, I went to one the other day. I knew half of the people there. And it's like, wow, like people go to the same events and stuff.
Mm,
Which is good in the one sense because you can deepen relationships that way. I've had some really great things come out of relationships with people that I've met and made over this year of being here. But on the other hand, you do need to meet new people and get the word out there about what you're doing to
mm,
other groups and have more reach. So one of the things that I actually recommend in the workshop, actually I'm doing tomorrow, is about creating more weak ties. And what do I mean
mm,
by that is creating more acquaintances within your network. And you can only do that by going to different types of events. So obviously the tech community is very small, but let's say I were to go to, I don't know, maybe an art event, right? If I go to an art event as a tech founder, I'll probably be the only tech founder there, for example.
right.
If I engage in conversations with people, when they hear of, maybe someone in their network needing services that I do, I'm going to be instantly more memorable because I was a tech founder at an art event, right? And I know that's a crazy example, but yeah, I think that's key. People get like judged very easily when you're in the same type of events all the time. It
Sure.
kind of becomes clicky. It kind of becomes like very small in that sense. If you're a developer only going to tech events, then you're only going to meet other developers, and people
Mm,
will judge you and rank you based on, I guess all the other people there. Whereas if you go
yep.
to an event where there's business people or marketing people, you'll probably find a co-founder a lot easier. You'll probably meet people a lot easier in that one that will you'll have a more memorable impact on, I think.
Mm,
You know? Um, and yeah, it's just also better. Like I wish people would go about networking to actually genuinely like connect with people and not just for business stuff. Because for me, I like to like really have conversations with people about who they are because I know that there's more to life than just my job and my business. Like I
right.
I'm new to Japan. I want to know where the best restaurants are. I want to know where the
Yeah.
best coffee shops are. What,
Yeah.
the car events or stuff like that that is going on
Yeah.
in Tokyo. So, and from those type of conversations, you can turn that type of small talk or that type of other talk into bigger talk later.
Mm,
I feel like we had said before, like interpersonal communication is more important in this day and age than anything before. People are
hmm.
lonelier than ever before, all around the world. So if you're struggling to make friends, like just try to genuinely connect with people in different environments, and you'll see what happens. I mean, it's
Yep.
just incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, you just reminded me of Daikoku. So, like, I used to drive down there, like,
Oh yeah,
so
I love
often.
that.
Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
go. I don't have a license, and I really want to go
Ah,
there.
really?
I need to get my
Well,
license.
aren't they changing the rules to make it more difficult to transfer your US license? Or maybe it's just for other
Oh no, mine straight
foreign
up expired.
residents.
Mine straight up expired,
Ah,
so I had to get it
okay.
from I had to get it from scratch. But
Ah, okay.
yeah, exactly. That is one place I really want to go, man.
Yeah.
I've
I guess it's changed since I was there now, but um, yeah,
absolutely,
anyway,
man.
we digress.
Exactly.
Um, I think for networking, like one of the key skills is listening, and being able to ask good questions.
Hmm.
So in sales, I think, one of the things I learned is not only being able to listen better, being able to ask better questions. So I think, and that's something I learned in coaching too. I studied executive coaching, asking better questions to kind of elicit a response, elicit, a vision or a realization. Um, Sales is much the same. It's funny, like executive coaching and sales almost work in parallel in some ways. So yeah, listening and asking lots of questions. And when you're networking, yeah, doing that I think is vital to really kind of making an impression and selling the stuff that you do, building trust, showing that you actually care, all of that. So it all
Well,
kind of gels in
absolutely.
together. Hmm.
Absolutely. You know what you said, you brought up a great point is asking better questions. People love talking about themselves, right?
Correct.
So if you want to be more memorable, just ask questions to get the other person talking.
That's right. That's
Then
right.
they're gonna
Yeah.
love you. They're gonna want you all around all the time because you're always a person who listens. Too
Yeah.
many people want to talk about themselves, like me, I. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but you've been in a conversation where you say something really genuinely important about your life, but somehow the other person flips it to themselves. That is a telltale sign, like, I don't want this person in my network. You know what I mean? So, yeah, being able to ask really good questions is key. That's why I do podcast hosting myself.
Of
Like, I
course.
love asking questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really do.
But I mean, if we bring that back to founders, like when you're talking to founders, usually they're very, passionate about their idea or the problem they're solving or the tech that they're building. And just letting them talk and giving them that kind of permission to just go ahead and, show their passion, show their enthusiasm, show where they're headed next. Like, if you can listen to them and kind of continue to facilitate that discussion or that conversation, it really helps to build trust and shows that you care. So
Absolutely.
yeah, just some key points there. Last thing I want to cover. From your experience as a founder, fundraising in Japan, what's your take? How difficult is it to raise from Antler, raise from a VC, raise from an angel? What have you heard? What have you experienced?
Yeah, so I got cut off there. So the question is in terms of raising investment, right? How difficult it is when at Antler and other areas. Is that right?
Yep. What's your
Okay.
what's your take exactly? Yep.
Yeah, I think that with investors, just like anyone, the story is very important as well. Storytelling, because at the end of the day, they want to make sure that they're investing in you, that you're going to make them a 10x, 100x, whatever X return. And you need to be able to put yourself in their shoes. Imagine that that person is going to hand over like $1 million to you to build your company. What types of questions will they want answered,
Hmm.
right? Like, and then put yourself in their shoes. What would you need answered from your own business to hand over that $1 million confidently? And I think having that perspective is crucial because I think my main mistake with raising money was I made getting the investment the goal and not actually
Hmm.
answering those questions that the investors wanted answered.
Right.
And for me, I was very new. I didn't really understand, what that was. But after 3 times failing raising investment, I think I have a better understanding. I need to gain skills first before the skills necessary to raise, the skills necessary to scale a company and really run an organization and solve real problems
Hmm.
before I'm going, to raise investment again. And that it was really humbling. I had a really humbling call, actually. I'll tell you a quick story about that. So there was this venture building company in Tokyo. Venture building is a very different model than,
Hmm.
what's it called, raising investment in the sense that they're backing you 100% and then kind of providing you with the space to build with they have proven business models where they just need ambitious people to fill them and build the company. So it was very interesting, and I felt, my experience with Antler would have been enough. I was like, oh yeah, I know what to do, yeah, because I've done this before, so yeah, it's totally fine. He asked me some very pointed questions about my experience, and it was really humbling for me because it really made me realize that maybe I don't have those skills yet, and it's okay.
Hmm.
It's not that I won't ever get them; it's just I don't have them yet.
Hmm.
And There are people, I used to get jealous all the time seeing these 20-year-old founders, right? The guy from Scale AI, craziness, right? That
Yeah, yeah.
they're billionaires now. They raised $300 million or whatever, right? You see
93, I
it
think
on
it
LinkedIn
was
all the
last week.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
you see it on LinkedIn all the time. And
Mm,
it can hurt your ego a little bit, right? Why
mm.
is this kid raising money, but I'm not? But at the end of the day, you really need to be able to understand that everyone has been on their own path. Everyone has different connections. Everyone has different knowledge, different uh, work ethic, and different, I guess, dedication and passion for things. And that
Yep.
your time will come. As long as you're in the game, you have a chance. And I know that I'm in the game still. It's just going to take a while. And that's fine because I had a later start.
Mm.
I said like I reposted something on LinkedIn the other day that says the average age of a successful founder is actually 45 years old.
Yeah,
So I
right.
got 9 more years to go, man. 9 more years to get
That's
the average, right?
one year
Yeah,
above me.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah, man, I think that raising money for all founders out there that are trying to raise money, put yourself in the investor's shoes.
Mm.
If you can't confidently answer those questions, what are you doing? You shouldn't be raising now. Use ChatGPT, for example, to throw in your pitch deck and ask you critical questions. Ask it to be like an investor mindset and like anticipate the questions before your investor meeting
Yep,
and answer them fully, like completely.
right.
Because you may think that an investor just wants to see a pretty pitch deck and like a charismatic leader. No, no, no. They do care about the numbers. They do care.
Yeah,
And if you don't know
yeah.
your numbers, you're out. So yeah,
Mm.
that's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I love it. So we think we covered a lot today. Especially on kind of your experience, Antler program, what you're doing now in Japan. But I guess the last question I really want to kind of learn from you is what do you think it would take in Japan or the Japan startup scene for because I feel like the funding landscape is still quite immature. There's that risk aversion or just aversion to risk. People like to keep cash in their bank account or under their mattress. How can we start to make it a little bit more supportive? You know, make a little bit more cash available to the innovation or the startup landscape in Japan.
Yeah. Well, there needs to be more creative ways of getting private equity or money into like a pool for those type of
Mm,
startups, I think. I don't know about you, but maybe in Australia or the US, I'm not sure, but like everyday people like can't invest in startups, right? Like it's very hard to do that. You have to be like a super high net worth individual to invest in like funds, right?
yeah.
That's my understanding. It's not
Yeah,
like
I
I
think
can,
like 200K salary plus, or like there's some
yeah,
guidelines. That's right.
exactly, right? So there's not really a way for all this dead money, right, to be reinvested into startups that will drive Japan forward. A lot of
Sure.
old people, right? They like elderly people here, they don't know anything about startups. So what about how we get some of that money into a fund that seems like a safe investment for them,
Mm,
that will help them? I'm not sure. It's a very challenging thing, but what I think could really help Japan move forward in terms of startups and entrepreneurship is starting to teach this stuff early on. The
right.
earlier, the better. Honestly, so many things have changed in this world, but the education system worldwide really hasn't changed that
Mm,
much. You still have a teacher in front of the classroom with students facing it, and it's this whiteboard or whatever. There's some laptops or like tech in there, but at the end of the day it's the same. They're receiving knowledge, not actively using it in a way that would sparks that creativity, that problem
yep.
solving, critical thinking. So the education system needs to change, and I think that adding in obviously more English from a younger age, right? Being okay with failure, like moms and dads, it's okay for your son or daughter to get a B, a C. Don't kill them
Right.
for that. You know what I mean? Don't
Right.
crush their dreams. I was speaking at an event a few weeks ago, and one of the parents there was like, "How do I get my daughter to be more curious or creative? I feel like she's lost that." I'm like,
Mm.
well, it's 100% to her environment at home. If she brings up stuff about music or something and you're not supportive of that, then that's going to kill her creativity. Same thing in
Yep.
school, right? So we need more things to help people feel safer in order to express their true creativity and problem solving. And finally, teaching practical skills like sales and like design thinking. Design thinking
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah.
Those type things at a younger age. And I think
Mm.
we're starting to see more things like that at the university level, but more in a high school level, I think would be better.
Mm. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, awesome. No, I love it. You're starting to see that happen. They're kind of add-on programs to Australian high schools. And no doubt, I can see that happening in Japan if it's not
Mhm.
already. Yeah, so
Mhm.
great. Thanks for being on the show, Lee. So if you're interested in Lee, any of the programs or events that he does, feel free to follow him on where are you most active, LinkedIn and anywhere else?
Mostly LinkedIn. For the my Japanese audience, I do have a Facebook and an Instagram as well, so you
Okay.
can catch me there at omnielt dot. Yeah, at Facebook at
That's all right.
omnielt.
We'll share the details in the description anyway.
Thanks.
And please note, I and potentially Lee is also doing a program, university program on entrepreneurship on the 17th of September. It's a free program, 4.5 hours in the afternoon. If you can make it, we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, if you want to learn
Okay,
some pitch tips, definitely come through.
from the
I'll be happy.
master.
Exactly. Be able to help you with your public speaking so you can raise investment. Absolutely.
That's right. That's right. Okay, thanks a lot for your time, Lee. And thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you in episode 2.
Thanks for having me. Yes.